So let's start with LeetCode's problem number 2, which is the add two numbers problem. It is a medium difficulty problem, so let's get started. So we're given two non-empty linked lists representing two non-negative integers, and the digits are reversed in order, and each node contains a single digit. So we have to add the two numbers and return the sum as a linked list. We have an example here. So we are given 243 and 564. When we invert it, we get 342 and 465. When we add it, we get 807, and we invert it again. So we get 7, 0, and 8. Again, we have another example here, which is 0 and 0. When we add them, we just get 0. There's nothing to invert since it's just a single digit number. So let's get started with it. So we're initially given a class called list node. So we'll just uncomment it. And an object of the class has attributes called value and next. So value tracks the current value of the node, and next gives the next node that is connected to the current node. So for this node, the value would be 2, and next would be the node which contains 4. So here there are two things we need to take care about. First thing is that when we get 243 as a linked list as input, we would need to convert it into a string. Say 243 would become 342 and 564 would be 465. Now, since we would mostly need to apply the same processes twice, it would make a lot of sense to create a function first to do this. So let's create a function for this, which is list node to string, which will take a node as input. Now node is an object of the list node class. So first thing, we will have a variable called final string, which would be the final input, final output, which we would be returning from this function. We will iterate through the linked list. So if the current node we are on is not none, this implies that the linked list hasn't reached the end of the list. We will add the node to the final string. And for the next iteration, we would have to update the current node to the next node. So we would just write node.next. And if the current node is none, that implies that we have reached the end of the linked list. So we just return the final string. So that's it. So this simple function would return 243 as 342. Now, once we finish adding it, we have to convert 807 back to 708. So we have to convert the string to a reversed linked list. So for that, we'll create another function, which is string to list node. And obviously this would take a string input. So for that, we'll first create a node, which will have the last value of the string. So for example, first node would be an empty object. So the first node would be the last value of the string. So for instance, if we pass in 807 to the function, 7 would be the first node of the linked list. So that's what we do here. We create we take 7, we convert the 7 from a string to an integer, and then we create a list node object with 7. Now there are two things we have to do. First thing, we need to keep a track of the first node so that we can get the entire list at the end. So we'll just create a blank variable which contains the first node. Now to prevent the last value from repeating, we'll just remove the last character from the string. Now we can do this in one line, but for explanation purposes, I'll split it down into multiple strings, multiple lines. So first we remove the last character, then we invert the string. So now we have just 8 and 0, and now we'll invert 8 and 0, so we get 0, 8. So for that we just do string colon colon and -1. This would invert the entire string. Finally, we will just iterate through the string and say node.next equals list node and I. So now we have taken 0. We invert 8 0 and we have 0 8. We add 0 to the 7 and 8 to the 0. And to make sure it's updated, we will make sure we change the current node to the node.next. And finally, we just return the linked list. We return the first node. If we return node, we will only get the last node. So we return linked, which is the first node, so that we get the entire chain. So we have a list node to string and string to list node. So we are done with the difficult part of the question. Now we just simply add the numbers. So we will have L1 underscore new, which is list node to string L1. So this converts the list L1, which is of list node, is converted to a string, which is stored in L1 new. And then we have L2 underscore new, which does the same thing to L2. Oh, this is L1. Now we will have the answer as a string, which is a sum of L1 underscore new and sorry, L2 underscore new. So what this does is that it converts the 342 and 465 which we got as string into an integer first and adds them. So now we have 807 as an answer. 807 in string format. Remember that a string to list node converts a string to a list node, not an integer. So we convert the 807 to a string, and then finally we just return the string to list node for the answer variable. So that should be it. This should be the solution to the second problem. So let's check it out. And let's submit the code. So clearly this code works, and this is my solution to the second problem. So if you have a better solution to the same problem, feel free to comment the solution in the comment section below. And so that's it. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. See you in the next video. Bye.